Hi, my name is Taylor Brigham, and today I'll be presenting a thesis for the safety and coaching of cheerleaders. This is a thesis for Central Magnet School. So today the agenda or the topics being covered are for the purpose of the study, current and past research, methodology, solution, results of discussion, implications, limitations, and suggestions for future study. These are basically all the information, research, time, and things that didn't go right and what I hope to go right about my thesis. So basically, we're going to be looking at my purpose question, and this is what allowed me to conduct this thesis. It's the question of, can the cause of cheerleading injuries and recurring injuries be fixed with like a product or a solution dedicated to the problem at hand? I did this question because cheerleaders are being affected by the increasing amount of injuries. Injuries are very steadily increasing and nothing has been stopped to lower them or stop the injuries from reoccurring. This is a problem for the cheerleaders. This is a problem for the parents having to take care of their cheerleaders. This is an effect of the cheerleading team who has lost a teammate due to this injury. And it's overwhelmingly affecting the team, the parents, and everybody's lives that are related to this cheerleader. This research was undertaken to help these cheerleaders to stop these, not to stop these injuries from occurring, but to see that, hey, this injury is occurring and to stop from further injuries occurring for them and for the teammates to see that injury. The purpose of the study is an evaluation of what increasing amount of cheerleading injuries and to just basically hopefully stop this from occurring again. And these statistics will be then evaluated over time and see what has changed in time regarding cheer and what basically stayed the same. These changes over time have affected cheerleaders and everybody's lives, and we just want to help everybody with this issue. So current and past research relating to this, I have had over 15 resources helping me with this. These three are my main sources that really helped me progress my research and statistical data that allowed me for this research. But in the end, you'll see my bibliography and sources of ones that helped me directly with this presentation and what helps me basically say what I need to say about this problem. So the first research is basically the National Center for Catastrophic Sports Injury Research, also known as NCCSIR. This research started being conducted in the 1980s when cheerleading was officially called a sport. This happened after it was called a sport and was allowed to conduct research for cheerleading teams and to collect data. This data being collected is just the statistical data of if a cheerleading is injured, if it's severe, if it's not severe, or if it's extremely severe, and what this injury is. This pool of data really helped me with my research because it allowed me to just see the data at hand and see what is occurring in cheerleading teams around America. And this allowed me to also see a possible solution and the things I needed to conduct a proper solution for this issue. Sports Business Network is almost like a branch of the National Center for Catastrophic Sports Injury Research because it used all the data from that information because it's so wonderfully written and conducted and gathered that it just basically conducted their own opinions and thought upon this research and to see what this data actually means. The Sports Journal was wonderful research for talking about the specific type of injuries and what they're doing to cheerleaders. So all this information is basically giving me the specific data, the numbers, and what is actually happening to cheerleaders because of this. The history. So basically cheerleading was officially called a sport in the 1980s, but it started much earlier than that in the 1930s. It started with men and now it's mostly a women-dominated sport, but men are still in it. And it's basically over the past few years, meaning from the 1930s to now the 1980s, it has been involving so much with new stunting, tumbling, and with this new advancements in cheerleading, new advancements and injuries that we've never seen before because of these new advancements are now occurring in cheerleading. And now that's why also that cheerleadings are getting more hurt because things are being tried and there's not many regulations set into these new trying of tumbling and stunting because it's never been done before. So this has allowed for basically new things to be happening, which is wonderful. So next, we'll be talking about my methodology, findings and discussions, basically how I conducted my experiment. So first conducting my experiment, I wanted to look at the statistical data, and this is from NCCSIR, National Catastrophe. What I just talked about earlier was my our resource that I use the most for my statistical data because it's just so wonderfully written. What I have right now is the cheerleading body injuries. This is basically just talking about all the different injuries where they occur and where they happen most in cheerleaders. I first looked at this set of data pool when I looked at my purpose. I found my purpose, I looked at this data, and I just saw what I needed to see. And I was like, how can we make this better? By looking at this data, I realized cheerleading injuries are more of a very physical sport where people do get hurt the most. And the injuries that are occurring aren't very much like topical where it's easy to just with an easy fix. They're very severe injuries that are being reported because nobody's going to report a scratch, but there is still a lot of injuries being reported that are severe, which is very concerning for cheerleaders and their safety. So what we have here is strains, internal injuries, fractures, concussions, neck, and contusions. Basically, these injuries are what make up cheerleading injuries, and all of these injuries are just things that need to be looked into or need to be helped from medical professionals. And when you don't have a medical aid at hand, the coach is the one who looks after these cheerleaders. And so the coach is the person that I realize needs to be helped and needs to be given proper information about this and be looked into. My mentor actually gave me plenty of resources of what cheerleading coaches are actually learning and what they are basically given to be a cheerleading coach. Although this information is wonderful and we see that there is proper regulations given to coaches, this changes between every county, every state, and all around America. And this is kind of difficult for coaches to have a wonderful understanding of how to protect their cheerleaders. So we wanted to help the coaches at hand. To do this, we wanted to first look at the coaches. We wanted to help them in the solution. We wanted to make it accessible for the coaches so they could have it on them at all times and easily accessible so they aren't flipping through this big book of just how to fix a cut on an arm, flipping through a big book. Oh no, my cheerleader's ankle is hurt. What should I do? And just freak out or search Google or do something like that. We wanted to create an easily accessible, wonderful resource to help with common cheerleading problems at hand for these coaches. And we also wanted to see what is the effect of long term, because many cheerleading injuries affect cheerleaders long term as well as they affect them long term and they affect them now, and they also affect the people around them who are taking care of them. And we wanted to see what can allow this cheerleader themselves to be protected in long term, but what can we help with the team as a whole to learn other precautions and things such as that to help them not make the same mistake or injury or anything for the coaches or even the cheerleaders. From the solution, here's the proposed solution. We looked at the set of data and we realized where most cheerleading injuries occur, and that's where the earlier graph was given. Here is 4 possible solutions. We have the first page of the booklet given. This booklet will be given to the coaches, easily accessible paper, and it's like a little flip book that they can keep in their pocket at all times, so it's very easily accessible and easy to use for the coaches. The first page is where a coach has seen an injury occurred, and they will look at the first page and see where that injury is on the body. This does not have a lot of injuries because we as myself and my mentors and my FOSA leaders, we didn't want to crowd and confuse the coach. So we put the most common cheerleading injuries and the ones that affect the majority of cheerleaders on here. And we had it in number order of the greatest to least occurring injuries as 1 through like 6, to help the cheerleaders with finding number 1 is the most severe, and so they'll be on the front page so they don't have to flip as much and not waste time flipping through a little handbook. So with this, we then are flipped to the next page of, say, where it happens on the face, as in the example, where if this injury occurs on the face, they're having the number at the bottom where they are able to check if they're at the right page or not. And they also have where the body injury occurred at the top of the page, so they're not wasting time wondering where they are. Then they're sent to this dichotomous key to see if they can answer questions regarding the athlete, and they can ask the athlete how they're feeling about this injury so they know how severe it is. They are given 3 possible solutions on each page, so not to confuse, and it's very easy to understand for any coaches. They can ask the athlete how they're feeling, because if they're good enough to go on, or if they just want to sit out for the practice, that's fine, because the athlete is listening to their body and their bodily cues. And then next we have observe athlete and call for medical help. This is when the athlete is unsure as well as the coach because of their almost in the middle injuries of very severe to not severe at all. And they still need to be checked out because you don't know which one it is, and you want to be better safe than sorry for cheerleaders so it doesn't affect them in the long term, and we can just figure out in the time being. And now the last, unfortunately, does still occur in cheerleaders, and that's why we put it in here. We need to call 911 for immediate medical help because the cheerleader is just in danger of what could possibly happen to them next. So the significance of this research is basically giving what we can do to help, and the statistical data given is showing that there is a problem with cheerleading getting injured, and that is increasing over time, that we need to show and do something about this. With this, we have the proposed solution that is able to help aid and give coaches the proper knowledge they need. And after this is given, and after we check the athlete is okay, coaches in the back of the handbook can then read what they can do to be better and help their other athletes and cheerleaders in the future of what they can do to be better, such as wear helmets to prevent concussions, or don't do 3-tier stunts because that is very dangerous and can be very unsafe, because that's usually conducted in college level sports, and say high school students doing that and they weren't aware of that coach, the no in stunting. Now they know, which is so helpful for them and so helpful for the athletes and cheerleaders. Now we're going to talk about my implications, limitations, and suggestions for my future study. Because after that solution, I wanted to know what could I have done better in my research, and what could I have done for my future research if I wanted to look at the statistical data again. So my implications and limitations, unfortunately, was that what made this so difficult was unable to conduct my own research due to COVID-19 and being not able to come into the coaches and other gyms because they didn't know me, as well as not being able to collect statistical data for other teams due to the fact I wasn't able to watch and see the injuries, as well as not being able to do it to mine because my season ended early due to unforeseen events. All of these came into one where I wasn't able to connect my own research and collect my own data. But luckily for me, I was able to find other resources that I can compile together to give me the best accurate resources for across America, which is better than what I was going to conduct in the Rutherford County area. Suggestions for my future studies, though, is also just looking at more of the beginning and that research regarding the statistical data for injuries compared to now. And although my research did conclude that there were significant results of it increasing over time and it having an unsafe environment for cheerleaders, I would like to look further into it and see where in the data was new advancements being met to create these unsafe environments. And I felt like that would have helped aid my research and solution even more for learning on how to prevent it as well. If I were to conduct this again, I would just conduct more research and collect my own data, as well as use that to create a better solution and actually test our results of my solution on athletes. Sources, these 6 sources were able to give me my correct information, and I obviously use way more, but these are what helped me aid me in this current research and talk to you about it. Thank you for everybody who's listened to my thesis. Thank you for anybody that has helped me, aid me, my FOSA, my mentor, my teachers, anybody who's helped and guided me through this process. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a nice day.